Hello, 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 hello. Good morning. How are you? How are you? Hmm. Let's have fun today, okay? Hmm. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I share. I want to share the link on my YouTube, on my Facebook. So just give me 1 second, okay? I'm not sure if this is better. Let me know. Is which one is better? Is it the landscape or is it landscape or portrait? I'm not even sure which one is better. Landscape, portrait. Which one is better? Landscape and portrait, which one's better? Give me 1 second to figure out the best way to turn this, okay? Okay. Okay. Let me know if this is better. Is this better? Is this better? I think it's better, right? Now I got my little board here to demonstrate. Should I go landscape? Let me see. Okay. Good. Is it better like this? I'm fighting technology. I'm horrible. I'm gonna do better. Yeah. I'm gonna set myself up properly. So guys, welcome to Choco Millionaire. I promised I will be doing a lot of videos on real estate because I love real estate. Okay, it's one of the things I've fallen in love with in the last few years. So I've been investing in real estate for about 3 years, almost 3 years. Okay, I started in 2018, and I currently have about 8 to 9 rental properties in total. Okay, rental units about 8. In terms of houses, about 4, but in terms of rental units, about 8 rental units. Okay, and I want to share the secret of how I was able to do all of this. I'm going to go through all my deals one by one so you can know exactly how I did all of this. So basically, with my first property, I have made a video on that. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to go check it out. The title of the video is How I Bought My First Property. Okay, it is on my YouTube channel, so look for that. I shared the story of what led me to real estate. Now, obviously, when I bought my first property and I saw how powerful it was and how not too difficult it was, I decided to do it again. And then I did it again, and I did it again, and I just continued buying. And I will buy more, and I'll buy more, and I'll buy more. But the knowledge and the wisdom I use is something that is not out there that people know. Only a few people know some of these secrets for wealth creation. So I intend to share this with you to bless you. This video will even make more sense to anybody who is in Europe or North America. If you're in Canada, if you're in the US, if you are in any part of the Europe, it will work for you. Now, if you are even in Africa or the Middle East, it can still work for you if you have the right financial knowledge. The bottom line here is financial knowledge, and they don't teach us this in school. So I bought my first property for 281,000. I'm going to put down the property one. Purchase price. The purchase price for property one was 281,000. k thousand. That was the price for my first property. Um, I bought it in the Niagara region of Canada, in Ontario, the Niagara region. Uh, Basically, when I bought this property, they listed it for almost 300,000, but I was able to negotiate it down to 281. So we closed the deal on this in 2018. In late 2018, in December 2018, we closed the deal on this property for 281,000. Did I use all of my money? No, I only did a 20% down payment. My reason for doing this 20% down payment are two. One, the banks did not want to qualify me. They thought I was a high risk. Um, I had just gotten my papers, and in fact, I was in the process. I was almost in that at that time, literally just getting my papers. So it wasn't like I had gotten my papers and I was just in Canada, like, with no visa issues. I was in the process of getting my papers and it was the final stage. So the banks thought I was a little bit of a high risk, right? They didn't want to give me the money. And then later on, I moved back to my country and then they are the losers. So that was one of the reasons. Number two, I also had a bit of a challenge at the beginning because my job was new where I currently work. Currently, I've been there since 2018. But at the time when I was buying the house, the job was under 1 year. In other words, I hadn't worked for up to a year. The banks generally want somebody who has worked full time for about 2 years before they can give them a mortgage or a loan. Since my job was less than a year, the banks were very suspicious of me. So they didn't want to give me the loan. Now, if they were going to give me the loan, they were going to give me a high interest rate. At that time, the interest rate was around 2% to 3%. But because my job was newer, the banks qualified me at almost 6%, which is like twice or three times what the average person was getting as an interest rate. But that didn't stop me. I was so determined to just buy that property. I remember I talked to my broker, my mortgage broker. Who is a mortgage broker? Is a person who connects you to the banks and finds you the right bank to give you the loan to buy the house. So when I talked to my broker, I remember I told my broker, I said, I don't care how you're going to make this happen. Make it work for me. That's what I said. I said to him, and he knew right away I was desperate. I said, look, I just want to enter into a house and have my own keys. So the broker understood it, and then he said, you know what, I'm going to do my best. And yes, he did his best, and it worked for me. And finally, in December 2018, we bought our first house, a 3 bedroom bungalow, a semi-detached in the Niagara region, a good location, very decent neighborhood with an unfinished basement. And the basement was unfinished. And the meaning, when we say an unfinished basement, it means the basement had nothing, just concrete, right? Just concrete, nothing in there, barely floor with nothing, nothing. That was the kind of basement we had. The basement had a separate entrance, so meaning you could get access from the outside to the basement without needing to even go through the main floor. 3 bedroom on the main floor, and then a basement which was unfinished but huge. So the plan was to renovate it. I'm going to go into the story as I talk about this video. Now, the third reason why I also did a 20% down payment is that when you buy your first house or you buy a house in Canada and you make a down payment, if your down payment is less than 20%, you have to pay an extra fee to cover, which is like an insurance on the property, but not for you, for the banks. You have to pay for a mortgage insurance to insure the house, not for you as the buyer, but for the bank that is loaning you the money, so that if things go bad, the bank can easily use that insurance to recoup their investment, which is the loan they gave you. That insurance is called mortgage insurance. It applies to anybody who buys a property but makes less than 20% down payment. That insurance is about 5% of the value of the house. So if I bought this house for 281,000. If I had done it less than 20%, if I had done less than 20% down payment, which is 20% of the value of the 280, if I had put down less than that money, I would have been required to use about 5% of my personal money again to buy an insurance to cover the house to protect the bank. Remember, we said this mortgage insurance is not the insurance to protect the house for you, the buyer. It is like a security that goes to favor the bank in case something goes bad with the property or you end up not being able to pay. They can rely on that to make their money back. And it's, that's the kind of insurance. My broker explained to me I didn't want to make that 5%. It didn't make sense to me to give 5% of my money to buy insurance to protect the bank, whilst I have to now go and buy another insurance to protect the house for myself too, right? So the broker said the best way to avoid paying that money is when your down payment is at least 20%. So I decided, you know what, I think I have enough savings. I'm gonna do the 20%. So I did a 20% of 281,000, which came to about 57,000 if you do the math, right? So that was the down payment I did in order to buy my first house. So those are the reasons why I bought my first house at 20% down payment. Could I have qualified for 5% down payment from the bank, or a 10% down payment, or a 15%? Most likely no, because my job was new, and at that time they had all kind of stress tests that they were implementing in Canada to make sure that people who were not financially fit were not buying houses easily. In other words, it was a little bit difficult at that time to buy a house as a first timer if you were not financially fit. So the stress test was basically to eliminate all those who are not financially fit, savings and jobs and stuff like that. It makes it harder to buy. So with all the stress tests that was applied to me based on my situation, it made it difficult for me to qualify for less than a 20% at that time. So 20% was the probable for me, and that was how I started. Now, fast forward, I moved beyond that and I bought my second house. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of the second house that I bought as well. Property number two. Okay, I think I need to write it first and show it to you guys. So property number two, which location did I buy it? I bought it in the same Niagara region, very close to the US border. I bought it in the same Niagara region. How much did I buy it for? Okay. All right. So if you can see this, my second property, I bought it in the Niagara region. Why do I buy in the Niagara region? Because I live in the Niagara region. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why I like buying in the Niagara region. How much did I buy for? 210,000. And when did I even buy this? I bought this last year, at the beginning of last year in January. That was when I bought this. And how much down payment did I do? In other words, how much of this property value did I have to put out from my own pocket? I did 20% of the 210, which is a 20% down payment. And then the bank gave me a loan for 80% of the value of 210. So if you do the math, that comes about 160 something thousand. And if you do the math, my down payment came to about 42,000. So my down payment came to 42,000, which is 20% of 210. When you do the math, that is 42,000. So that was the amount I needed to put down to become the owner of the second property. All right. But this 42,000 that you see on the screen, which I used to buy my second property, I didn't use my money. Basically, I had zero of my income buying this property. So how did I do it? I leveraged on the first one. I leveraged the first property to buy the second one. I have already done a video. My last video, I talked about the power of leverage and how the rich use this. So I leveraged my first property, got money from my first property to become the down payment of my second property. I know this sounds a little bit confusing. At the beginning, when I started, it also was confusing to me. So I'll take my time to explain, like a teacher and a student. Remember, I bought the first property for 281,000, right? Yeah, 3 bedroom, nice 3 bedroom with an unfinished basement with a separate entrance. I figured out if I can renovate the basement, I will be able to turn it into an apartment. So what I did was that I had a basement finished, and even though it was just dry with nothing, we were able to finish it, and we added 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a bathroom, and a laundry room. 2 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, and a laundry room. We also already had a separate entrance, meaning that if somebody was living in that basement, they don't need to go through the main floor. You can go get your own access through the driveway and then open the door from the side, and then you come in the basement. So it became 2 different apartments. You understand that? So what we did was that me and my wife, at that time we had no child, we decided to move to the basement to live in a 2 bedroom. We made it nicer, and then we decided to put a tenant on the main floor. We decided to rent out the main floor where we were initially living. We rented that place out, and then we moved to the basement. And by doing that, what it allowed us to do was that the cost of expenses or all the expenses on the house were now being taken care of by the proceeds we're making from renting it out. So the expenses like utilities, the expenses like mortgage, we were able to make enough to pay all of that. So me and my wife ended up living for free. That is the secret. But this is what happened, guys. Anytime you renovate a property and you add more bedrooms than it had before, and you can show proof of the work you've done, automatically the value of the property goes up. I have explained this as well in my previous live video on leveraging why the rich invest in real estate and the poor don't. So by the time we finished the renovation, it was less than 20,000 actually. The renovation didn't even cost us up 20,000. It was less than that. It was smart renovation. I bought some of the items brand new. I bought some of them used on some online markets we have in Canada. We're able to finish the basement. Nice, beautiful. When we finished that basement, it was under 20,000. That was the cost of finishing the basement. I didn't even use my money, guys, to finish the basement. I was using credit cards to buy the materials. And then at some point, I used a bit of my own money, but a chunk of the money was from credit cards. Some of the money to pay the labor for the workers came from my salary, but that was just a small portion. The most of it was the material. So I was using and leveraging credit cards to be able to do the renovation. And I was getting financially more knowledgeable, so I knew how to get credit cards that has zero interest rate. Yes, you heard me right. I got credit cards that had zero interest rate, meaning I could shop and shop and shop to the maximum of the limit on the credit card. And all I had to do was just to make a minimum small payment without paying an interest for as long as the credit card company allowed me. So I was able to leverage that to buy my materials, whilst I used just a little bit of my own salary to pay the labor of the workers. And then under 20,000, we had the whole basement all done. We moved to the basement, and all of this happened in a short time, very, very short, like a couple of weeks. The basement was all done. And then when we finished, we got an appraisal officer. Who is an appraisal officer? They are professionals who come to assess the value of a house. They come to assess the value of a house based on what it is worth now on the market. So we got an appraiser through our bank. The appraisal officer came and said, you know what? Even though you bought this property for 281,000, it is now worth over $340,000. Do you see that? The appraisal came at about 340,000. So what I did was this. I had bought this for 281, spent about $20,000, 18, $20,000 on the renovation. But now that property, if you add the 20,000 to the 281, you notice it's about 300. But now that property was worth about 340 at the time when we did the appraisal. So you wonder what happens? The difference is what I was able to pull out in real cash to buy my next property. That difference, which is the value appreciation based on the renovation I did, is officially in real estate called equity. Value appreciation, equity. So how much money I was owing the bank and whatever I had paid on my mortgage at that time, they were going to deduct that from the new value of the property. And then the bank will ask you, what do you want to do with the money? Basically, you are entitled to pull the money out. So yes, I was smart about that. I told the bank, you know what, I think I need that money in check. So they wrote me a check, and the magic number came to about 42,000. So I was able to use that 42,000 check as the down payment to buy my next property, which is the one I bought for 210,000. Remember property number two, 210,000. I did 20% of that, and the 20% comes to $42,000. So guys, you heard it. I bought my second property with zero money. In case you are still confused, I was able to leverage the first property to buy the second one. So now I have two properties. I don't even have to live in the second property. And because I was very smart in picking the property, I got it cheap. I negotiated good. For you to win this business, in this business of real estate, you need to know how to pick a good property. You need to know how to buy that property cheap, meaning you need to even know how to negotiate with the sellers of the house to get it down below the market value. Because when you negotiate it down and you are able to do some renovation on it and bring the property back to the market value, the difference is all what becomes your profit in equity. So I was able to negotiate this property down. At the time that I bought the second property, I knew the market value of that property was around 380,000. It is a duplex. A duplex in real estate simply means a property that has two legal units. A property that has two legal units, like an apartment with two separate sides. So somebody lives in one, another person lives in one. It is not necessarily the concept like a top and a down basement. It simply means two legal units joined together, like twins joined together. That's what we call a duplex. So the second property was a duplex, meaning it already had two tenants in there, like one tenant here, the other tenant here. They were all paying their own bills at the time when I bought it. And the property was also in a very, very nasty shape. The tenants were bad, horrible. You can tell these tenants had issues. Some most likely drugs. They were doing drugs. They just basically, if I show you the pictures, you're gonna puke. You're gonna throw up, right? It was just in a bad shape. But when I saw this property, I look at the location it was in. I look at the street it was in. I look at the street and I realize that all the properties on that street were gorgeous, except this one. So we did the market analysis. Me and my realtor at that time, a different realtor, not the same guy I use now, right? We did the market analysis. We surveyed it. They were asking for more than 210,000. So we look in the neighborhood and we realized that the average price of houses there for a bungalow, not even a duplex, single unit, just a single unit. You know, duplex means two units. So even single units were more than 300,000 in that neighborhood. But this very one was so bad that it couldn't sell for 300 plus because it was in a bad shape. When I say bad, the walls from the inside, the drywall like you're seeing, the tenants had kicked in, they were destroyed everywhere. They were nasty. Their dogs were pooing, like shitting everywhere in the living room. Their kitchen was smelling. The fridge was so bad. There was garbage everywhere in the living room. You can tell these guys don't probably even shower. And these are humans. But this is what happened to humans when you take to drugs, right? Because drugs, you lose your mind. When you lose your mind, even though you might not be mentally unstable, you just don't have the right frame of mind. So this kind of properties, guys, in real estate we call them problem properties. Problem properties in the sense that they are properties that become problems for maybe the landlord who was selling it at that time, and he didn't want to keep it anymore because the tenants were giving him too much trouble and destroying the property. So what most of these landlords would do is that if they don't have the patience to get the tenants out, renovate it again with money, and put in new tenants, some of them they will sell it cheap. So that was the kind of property I picked up. It was a distressed property in a very bad shape. Someday I will show you pictures. In fact, I have a video here on my channel where I actually just show you pictures of how we're doing the demolition of that property. So fast forward, I picked it up for 210. It was just before the pandemic started in 2020. So the market wasn't crazy. Remember now the market has gone crazy. Crazy in the sense that everything has gone up more than it used to be before the pandemic for some reason. So because the timing was also good, the location was good, I was able to negotiate it good. I did a market analysis and I knew the potential of this property was awesome, especially if I do a little bit of renovation on it. And at that time, the timing was just perfect. It was just before the pandemic. So I was able to get it for cheap. So what happened? I managed to get the two tenants out. I was able to get the two tenants out without stress. In fact, the moment I bought it, one tenant had already agreed to move out because a new landlord had bought it. Now, the second tenant had an issue with drugs. So they also couldn't, basically, the property was in a mess. They had no power, they had no water, they had no heat. The landlord has stopped paying all those things because the tenants were supposed to pay it. And when they were not paying it, the utility companies cut the utilities off. So the house had no power. And it was in January, meaning winter. So it was cold. So the place was not even livable for the tenants because there was no power, there was no water, there was no heat. And these tenants were living in there with kids. Fast forward, we were able to come to an agreement. I offered the tenant some money, and then the tenant was able to move out. And we signed, the tenant consented to that, and we did all the paperwork. And then finally, I was able to start renovating the property. The whole renovation took about 6 months for the two units. We focused on finishing one unit first, and then we finished the other unit second. So in a total of 6 months, I finished all that renovation. The renovation cost me about $80,000 to renovate the entire house, like to new. When you see it now, you're going to be like this, looking gorgeous, beautiful. The rent went up. In fact, by the time we finished the renovation, whatever I was renting for before, all of them has seen about significant jump in rent just because of the quality of renovation we did. So now I was making more from that to be able to pay off the mortgage, all the expenses on those that duplex, the two unit, and I was able to still make a lot of money on monthly basis as revenue coming to my pocket. So that property became an investment property for me. But here is the magic though. You heard me talk about the fact that I bought it for with $0. And I showed you how I did that, right? By leveraging the first property, I have to buy the second one. I considered this second property to be my golden property because even though it was in a very distressed state at the time when I bought it, by the time I finished the renovation and brought back the beauty and the charm in this old lady and restored it to market value, at that time the real estate market has started crashing and going up in Canada, right? So I was able to do the same thing again. We got the appraisal officers in, they came to reassess the value. Me and my wife were even thinking we're gonna get a value around 380, 400. Fast forward, I told you the numbers, 210 purchase price, about 80,000 renovation, so that's about 300 or 290,000. So if we had a new value come in at about 380,000, at least we can still confidently say we made about 80,000 profit after we take out all our expenses. So that was our reasonable conservative expectation. But when the appraisal officers came and did their job, the property was worth more than what we had even thought. It was in the 500,000s. Can you imagine that? A property that we picked up for 210, spent 80,000 renovating. In 6 months of renovation, when we did the appraisal within a 1 year period, the value had gone in the 500,000s. You heard me right. The new value of that property at the time we did the appraisal was 500. In fact, as we speak now, that property is worth about 600 and something thousand as we speak now. But I haven't done another appraisal yet. I just know that is the current value now. But at the time when I did the appraisal, it came at 500,000 thereabout. Okay? When the bank called us, or our mortgage broker called us to deliver the news to us, I was shocked for the good part of it. I called my wife and I said, honey, come and listen to this. You know, we were expecting about 380 or something, right? It came at 500K. In fact, it was more than 500. It was in the 500s. I won't give you the exact number, but it was in the 500s. So I called my wife, and then we had to talk to the broker. We had to talk again to us. Like, yes, they said that is the current value. When they look at the dynamics of the market, that was how much our property was worth. Wow, guys, let me know. I can't see your comments. For some reason, the comments are not showing. Let me know. Am I the one who is not seeing them? Let me see. Live chat. Oh, they are showing now. The live chats are showing now. Good. Show me your comments. Let me know if you're enjoying this, okay? Guys, for 3 days, I had insomnia. Do you know what insomnia is? I couldn't sleep. I had sleepless night. It was as if somebody has deprived me of my sleep because I had never imagined the property being worth this much. I was just being reasonably conservative and I said 380 is fair. Even if I got a little below 380 is fine. But the value came in the 500s. So guess what your man was going to do again? How much do we owe the bank on the balance? Remember, we did 20% on the 210 and the bank brought 80%. So basically, we have to go back and see how much we owe the bank. And then they are going to now look at the new value against how much we owe. And then the difference becomes our equity, which is the amount of value we have created on that property through our own work and the market dynamic too, right? So what happened was this. We pulled out our money again. You know what I mean by pulling out? Yes, when the value goes up, there is a way you can take it out in cash. So we went in there and we pulled that baby out again, you know? And when we pulled that baby, it was over $200,000, man. We pulled over 200K. You see that? And you can imagine what your man did with that, eh? He went on the market and he bought other ones again. And then you can imagine what I did with 200. I went on the market and I buy other similar ones again. So here, I love picking properties below market value. That's my strategy. We call it buying cheap, buying smart, buying in a great location, and buying to make sense. We didn't just buy because we wanted to buy. We were targeting the properties. We knew which property. We knew the location. Location matters in real estate. A property in one location is not going to be worth the same in another location. We chose our locations carefully. We knew our market. We know our market. We live in the Niagara region. So we picked a smart property. We negotiated it good because the winning starts from negotiation. Yes, at that time competition wasn't there, so we didn't have a ton of people chasing this property. Everybody was seeing it as a problem. We saw it as a golden goose egg. Whilst everybody was seeing this property as a problem, we saw it as a goose egg. Would you believe if I tell you that the rent that the tenants were paying before I bought that property, the rents have almost doubled? Yes, you heard me right. The rents have almost doubled just because of the renovation we did. Not only has the rent gone up, because that was a market rent based on the renovation we did and the quality of the property at the time. In fact, that property is able to pay for itself in terms of all the expenses we have to be paying our bank. Is able to pay for its utilities, and is still able to put money in our pocket, a lot of money, good money, every month as revenue, whilst the property is cash flowing and is being paid for. And it also gave us the opportunity to access the equity, which is the value of appreciation or whatever we had paid off that mortgage at the time, plus the value appreciation. We were able to pull it out and then we were able to reinvest into other properties. So now you know I bought my first property with my down payment of 57, but that has gone on to create several thousands of dollars for me and has been able to buy me other properties. You're going to hear me do a breakdown of my third property as well, and I'll also be telling you how I bought that. But guys, these things I'm saying is not just me saying it for just saying. I'm not trying to scam you. I won't do that. I'm not going to use my precious time to sit here and do that. I'm trying to let you know that your level of earnings in life, the amount of money you make, is directly proportional to your financial knowledge. The more you know about how money works and how the rich people make their money, the more you know how to do it. You see, somebody can also buy this same property like me, but it will become his liability. Think about this. Why do you think the first landlord sold it cheap? It is possible that the landlord didn't know what to do with the property. It is possible he was frustrated by the property. His frustration became my golden mine. Do you see that? Whilst he was tired, I was ready. Whilst he was retiring, I was just getting started. Whilst he was fed up, I was more energized to pick it up. You see, it is all about your level of financial knowledge and wisdom. Somebody will see something as a problem, but that problem or his junk will become your treasure. It is all about financial knowledge. There are many people today who buy properties and they don't even know why they bought it. I'm telling you this. Don't buy a damn property if you don't know why you're buying it. I had my plans before I bought it. I knew exactly, even though I didn't know all of it and I didn't have all the knowledge at that time. I knew it was what the rich people were doing. In fact, the rich people were the landlords and the poor people were the tenants. Of course, there are some tenants who are not poor. Maybe they have investment in stocks and they have investment somewhere else. But mostly tenants are the poor people and the landlords are the rich people going on vacations. So I figured that if I really wanted to change my life, I needed to move from the tenancy position. And at that time, I can't tell you, I didn't have a full view of the whole picture. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. But I just had that faith. It is what the rich people like Robert Kiyosaki do. It is what the rich people do. They own assets and they know how to leverage it. So I was prepared to do this. And I made sure when I picked my first property, it wasn't a property me and my wife were just going to sleep in and have sex and make babies. Yes, you heard me right. We didn't pick a property where we're just going to live in, have sex, and make babies. We wanted a property where we could live in at a point where we don't have to pay anything to live in, so that the property can carry itself through its expenses. That was how we made our choice. Some of you today will be excited about buying real estate without sitting down to ask whether you've understood how it works. Some of you today will have more than 57,000 like I had, and you'll go and buy your property. But because you lack the knowledge on how to pick a good property, which location to target, how to understand the market and how it works, you're just going to buy it. And then when you finish, you're going to say, I tried what that guy talked about, but it didn't work. Yes. How will it work for you when you don't understand how it works? Yes. There are some people who are buying properties that are liabilities to them today. Liabilities mean they are not making nothing out of it. They don't even know what they're doing. If you are watching me and you own a property, and that property is taking money out of your pocket, it's a level of your financial knowledge. Yeah, you know me, I speak it hard, and I say it in a way that it will poke you in the eye and the mind to make you conscious. I have no problem with you buying a property and doing no business with it. It's your choice. But remember, the rich people don't do it that way. If they are buying it, they are doing it from a business point of view. They've done all the analysis and they know the numbers before they go in. They know their financial numbers before they go in. Is that what is going to drive you to buy a property too? Are you buying it because you just want to move in a house and say you're a landlord? Are you buying it just because you want to move in and stay with your kids? Maybe that's your choice. But I was at a point where I wasn't rich yet. I can't afford to move into a property where I'm only paying expenses and calling myself a landlord. I wanted to find a way to make that property pay its own bills whilst I and my wife live for free. We've never been tenant again. We've never paid rent. We've never paid water bill. Yes, they've all been taken care of, and we are still getting paid as landlords to live in our own properties. Do you see that? This is what the rich do. They pick smart. They negotiate smart. They understand the market. They don't just buy for comfort. They buy comfort plus returns. And then they ask themselves, how can I do this again? And again, and again, and again, on a bigger level, on a bigger level. So as I've started, don't be surprised if you see me owning apartments. I've started. It's just how it's going to happen. You notice I started with one property, and now I start buying duplexes, and now I'm buying more than duplexes now. It's just how it works. It's how just the rich people buy. So at a point, they're going to have a ton of properties, which are not liabilities to them because the properties are self-productive, running, self-profitable. And then they are just collecting all the rent whilst the bank is also taking their expenses and the utility companies are taking. And then they have enough savings to say they are retiring from their full-time job. In Trump's voice, in Donald Trump's voice, I'm retiring. Yes. And basically, when the rich man says he's retiring from his full-time job, it means his part-time real estate business is making him way too much money. He can't afford to spend 8 hours of his time working anymore. Now he wants to just go on vacations. He wants to just go and enjoy with his family. Yes. I used to do overtime at work, my full-time job. I used to hurriedly, in fact, I used to chase my supervisors, asking, can I come in and do overtime? I no longer do that. You know why? Because my part-time real estate investment is proving so smart that I don't have to do overtime on my full-time job anymore. Do you see that? We're getting there. Sometime we're going to get to the point where we don't even have to work full-time anymore because we can choose to sleep while the money is dropping in the bank account and dropping and dropping and dropping, and the property is going up in value and going up in value and going up in value. Yes, this is real estate. I do not understand Bitcoin. I'm not saying Bitcoin is bad. I don't understand crypto. I don't understand stocks. I don't do mutual funds yet. Maybe someday, but at least I understand the game of real estate. I'm still a new investor, but from what I've done so far, it is the smartest financial decision I've made my whole life. And I didn't make it emotionally. I didn't make it because I saw somebody just buy it and I also went to buy. I made that decision because I took time to study the ways of the rich. And I decided, I think I want to do this. And when I told my wife, I think I want us to do this, she believed me. She said, yes, sir, let's go for it. This is real estate. And this is how I bought my second property. In due time, I'm going to give you a breakdown of the expenses on that property, the rent on it, and you're going to see whether I'm running a positive business, a profitable business, or I'm running a loss. If you enjoyed this video, please share it and let it be a blessing to not just you, your network of friends. Sharers never lack. Givers never lack. If you're selfish and you never share, God will deliberately not bring good things your way. It's just the way it works. Givers never lack. A sharer never lack. If nobody shared my video, you ain't gonna find me today. Share and be a blessing to somebody. And please remember, you don't need more money to live this life. I'm going to say this again. You do not need more money to live this life, to live this thing called life. What you rather need is more wisdom. And wisdom comes from God. He's already written these things in his books. If you read them, you see the secrets of successful living. God bless you. This is Choco Millionaire. I live in Canada and I work full-time. I am a father of 2 and I have a beautiful wife, and I also invest in real estate. And I hope you enjoyed this session of real estate. God bless you. And in case you are wondering about my first property and how we renovated the basement, this is the basement. Can you see that? This is it. Yeah. This is the basement. Can you see that? That basement that was desert with nothing, we made it beautiful. This is where we live now. And the top is taken care of. All the best. God bless you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.